Well, we got the children up because we were told we were going to get burned out, you see. And we got the children up. Of course, they were crying all around the place, didn't know what was happening to them.
Children was running mad everywhere, and their mothers was hysterical, and the children were. It was something terrible that night of the shooting. Oh yes, my children was there whenever the shooting started. I couldn't get one out of my arms. He just hung onto my neck, you know, wouldn't let me go. She tore the neck off me, as a matter of fact, with nerves, hysterical. And a couple of women took her off me and brought her into the house, and that, my sister, and that there, you know. But it was really, I wouldn't like the children to witness it again. Like it would be the death of my children, to be quite honest.
I couldn't take it in. It was happening in Belfast. I mean, we have so many churches and so much religion here. You wouldn't have thought it would have happened.
Well, you see, they're going out fighting for a lot of things now, which I think are a lot of nonsense. If everybody got together and fought over the price of food going up, the price of the new houses that's getting built, that we can't afford even if we were offered one.
How much of Northern Ireland's troubles today are caused by religious hatred, and how much by the squalor and deprivation which so many of Ulster's citizens, both Catholic and Protestant, live in? Belfast has 500,000 inhabitants, many living in houses like these, with no inside lavatory, no bath and no hot water. Houses rotten with damp, some that were unfit for human habitation even before the First World War. For these crumbling dwellings, the rents are low. They have to be, because the average weekly wage in these streets is less than £13. The labouring man in Belfast earns on average £4 a week less than his counterpart in England, but the cost of living is just as high. Here in the textile industry, a semi-skilled worker, say a man who oils these machines, gets just over £12 for a 40-hour week. He'll have to do an exhausting amount of overtime to get a living wage. Tommy Madden, married with a child, worked in a mill. He thinks he's better off now cleaning streets.
I've worked in building jobs, which don't last too long. I've worked in spinning mills, where you have to work 3, 4 and 5 nights overtime to get a living wage. I've worked in a mill. I've worked that many hours. I've worked myself sick. Couldn't eat my food. This job here, I'm satisfied with the flat pay. I can work with £12.10 or £13 clear. I think we're better paid. I personally know we're better paid than any other labourer in this town. As I said, we have a 40-hour week. I think it's the best labouring job I've ever had.
Labourers on a building site, like Patrick McIntyre, father of 4, take home £12, but bad weather can halve their income.
The weather conditions are so bad, you can't work in the wet weather. On a wet week, we only get paid half time. That would be £7 a week. We don't get any overtime on the job. They have no overtime for us.
Patrick McIntyre is lucky. He's in work. Many men in Belfast are unemployed. Belfast has a higher rate of unemployment than any other major city in Britain. Sam Johnson was a truck driver, but he's been out of work for a year. Married with 3 children, he spends his days looking for a job.
Well, there's not much you can do. You only look for a job, go different places looking for jobs. And you know before you go, it's nearly a chance in a million you get one. Well, when you're walking along the street looking for a job, you're hoping you'll get it. And you're worrying all the time, praying that you'll get it. And at the same time, you know you haven't a chance, or you haven't a hope of getting it. You're just living from one day to the other. That's all. Well, you walk around the street, maybe a chance of meeting somebody. Maybe knows where the job is. Maybe tell you, maybe know about a job. Perhaps when they tell you about it, it's maybe 2 or 3 days old. And when you go there, it's gone.
So Sam Johnson, like 11,000 others every week, ends up in the Belfast Labour Exchange, the largest in the United Kingdom.
Samuel Johnson. Mr. Johnson? Yes. Have a seat, sir. 2 children or 3 children? 3 children. Well, have you got a P60 form? That's for your earnings-related supplement.
No.
You haven't got that? No. Did you get one from them?
No, yeah, I can't sit in the house. I can't. I never was used to sit in the house. I was always used out and about, working. I never was as much unemployed in my life as what I've been this last few years. Well, nobody wants to sit and wait here. Well, you feel awful. I don't know, but I think the money that you earn is far better and seems to do you more good than the money you get on the labour exchange.
When a man is out of work, he's entitled to benefits large enough for his family to live on. But these mustn't add up to more than the man would be earning if doing his normal job. This is the wage stop. In Ulster, wages are often so low that whether a man is working or not, his family is always living below the poverty line.
However, there's a thing called the wage stop which applies, and it's a particularly vicious thing because it applies only to poor families. You know, if you're earning a lot of money, it doesn't apply to you. So it's a punitive thing, really, which afflicts the poor family. This means that a man who's earning a low wage, if he's got a large family, he may well be, his full supplementary benefit may come to more than he would get if he were employed. So the wage stop applies, which means that he will not get any more money than that. So in fact, he's kept at the same level, which is below the poverty line as defined by the state, the supplementary benefit line. So he's living at maybe £5 below the poverty line.
For many years, Mrs. Macmillan, her husband and their 5 children have lived below the poverty line. Without enough money to go round, the strain on the marriage resulted in a separation, her breakdown, and 2 attempts at suicide.
Like, I have to go around and pick around all the cheap shops. I just can't go into any shop and lay down my money and say I want that or I want that. I must look around all the cheap shops. Like, every penny counts to me. On my family ends day, I always try and get so much stuff in for the kiddies, underwear for the boys and panties for the 2 girls, so forth like that. And try and get Mr. McMillan some stuff too, because he hasn't got much. He needs heavy clothing. And
Mr. Macmillan has had chronic bronchitis for 9 years. Most of that time, he has been out of work.
If you're out of work through illness, through disability, it can be bad because the unemployment position in Northern Ireland is rather high, and it takes a fit man all this time to get a job. I've had a recurring period of illness. I'm out of work through no fault of my own. I'm unemployed. There's thousands like me. They don't want to make themselves out as charity cases. Get up there, Martin. Come on, get up, put him back. Come on, put him back.
Come on, you alley bum.
Right. Go on, you find some now, Martin. Watch you go.
when I had hard patches, to sit down and cry, take it out to my husband. He used to say, pack up and go. live somewhere else. It did break my marriage at one time. Through this hardship, struggling, trying to make ends meet, did break my marriage once. And like I knew it was my fault, I should have tried to struggle on, but just my nerves got the head of me. Couldn't struggle anymore. I couldn't hardly lift a cup off a fireboard that week. In fact, I had a home help to help me in the house.
Spend your daddy.
Sitting in the house or walking about, well, you're eating all well and things like that. Well, it's not very good for a man's morale when he knows he has a wife and a family for to depend on. No man wants to sit in a house. He wants to be doing a day's work. A man likes to have a couple of pound in his pocket at the weekend for to have some leisure.
I had this hard struggle with Mr. McMillan being out of work. It did cause friction in the house, caused rows that day after day. The marriage broke for 3 weeks. My husband came up and spoke to me, asked me to take him back, that he would try and get a job and try and bring in a pay packet to see if that would keep the marriage together. Took him back and we lived all right for a year and then went back again to normal routine again, fighting and throwing up in his face. Can't manage with you out of work. It's driving me around the bend. I did end in hospital with a nervous breakdown.
Prospects don't look too good at the moment. They don't look too good in the future, and just at the moment I'm more or less at the mercy of the 4 winds.
I've left some of the pot for the second help and
Well, I do find it rather hard, especially when my kiddies ask for something which I can't afford to get. I try to explain to him, Daddy's not working, I can't afford to get it, son. Maybe someday I will be able to get it. He'll maybe sit down and have a wee cry. He tries to make it up to him the best way he can with his pocket money spent on his kiddies. Because they're only kiddies, so can't just have them having it tight because him and I's having it tight.
Anybody want any more soup?
Me!
I always slip Mr. McMillan a piece of meat in his bowl, but when he gets my back turned, he puts it in my bowl. He says I need it because I need strength to look after the kiddies. Well, we'll try and get as much as we can, him and I, but we're not getting more proper food, like, you know what I mean? Takes it all for the kiddies.
It's only people that's been in that position that really understands what it is. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul for to try and make ends meet. Sometimes it's harder than others. I would like to go out, take a kiddies out, give them a good day somewhere, something like that, take them to the beach, for instance, in the summer. But for to do that, they're rather expensive. Rather expensive taking them down. You would be out a fortune on train fares or bus fares and things like that. A day at the beach would be a luxury, but it's a luxury that you couldn't really afford.
James Henry and his wife live on a pension of £8, 15 and 6 a week. For them, life is a vicious circle. Each Monday, so that his wife can eat, Mr. Henry is forced to pawn his radio. Thursday, pension day, is the day he gets his radio back. Mr. Henry says that the radio means more to him than food. Music is his only pleasure.
I can put up, no food. Oh, but I can't put up whether the weather. I like music. I don't mind about the food part, but the wife does.
Morning, Mr. Henry.
Good morning.
It's nice morning, isn't it?
Come to see you again.
Oh, indeed. How's your wife this morning?
Oh, sure. Good morning.
That's good. You tell her I was after you for her, won't you?
I can do that. No, it's all the snow away. Not so bad.
Pardon?
No, the snow away. It's not so bad.
It isn't, no. It's £8.15 and 6, Mr. Henry. Right?
Morning, Mr. Henry.
Good morning, Clark.
That's a bad day.
Oh, lovely. It's good morning for you with ducks.
Each Thursday, the pawnbroker gives back the radio, but it costs James Henry 32 and threepence every time. The 30 shillings he borrowed, plus 2 and threepence interest. 2 and threepence lost every week.
There's your transistor. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah.
Tell the wife I was asking for her.
Okay.
Thank you now.
All alone, roads full of houses, never home, a church full of singing, out of tune, everyone's gone to the moon.
Mrs. Henry can't hear the music. She's deaf and dumb. But music is Mr. Henry's only comfort. He knows that come next Monday, the radio will be back in pawn, and for 3 days he will live in silence.
Well, I always said it was believe to bring children into the world. This did it said that. I know I'm getting older and older, and then that'll be the end of me. That'll be the end of me. I don't mind going to the grave. You get peace and quiet, that's it. I sleep upstairs in the room, and there's no fireplace. Well, it seems to be all bearded up, you know. I don't know what's on it. It could be, you know, it could be a dead cat or something. You know, that's what the wives say. Oh, it's cold as ice. Oh, when you get into bed, you feel the cold, you know. Oh, just the cold, I don't feel any damp, you know, just the cold.
How old did you say? Hello. Where's camera?
A few streets away, Mrs. Ditty, mother of 10 children, lives on the poverty line in a house that is literally falling down.
Well, the roof on it wasn't too good in the kitchen. I was afraid of some of the youngsters being out and it coming down on top of them. But I got up one Sunday morning to put the children out to church, and the roof had fell down during the night and it was lying on the floor.
Lovely.
Well, it's not too bad over at the stove, but when you're over at the sink, it would take you to have an umbrella.
Mrs. Ditty's landlord is dead. Until someone claims the house, she has to pay the rates, so the corporation says she's not eligible for a council house. If you pay rates, you are not the corporation's responsibility.
The only thing you can do is buy a house, and I haven't got the money to buy one. I have my name down in the corporation for a corporation house. I have it down as 10 years. They're supposed to be priority. And you just have to wait till they see your case and give you a house. I can't understand why they don't think I'm entitled for a house. I can't understand it at all.
Come here, quick, quick.
When they all come in for their dinner and they come home out of school, they're all just sitting almost on top of one another. Sometimes you have to stand behind the door before you can get a seat.
Popcorn.
The only way the family can live together in this one room is by sitting down and watching TV. They have a coin in the slot set, costing a minimum of 19 shillings a week. After 3 years, it's theirs, but by then they'll have paid twice the retail price, nearly £150 for a £75 set. When there's no money left to put into the television, the children go out into the streets to play. In this street, 2 years ago, Mrs. Ditty's youngest boy, aged 2½, was run over by a milk van and killed.
He went out to play and was killed with a co-op milk float just at the bottom of the street. Well, it was a strain on my nerves after it, and even yet, if I hear a car in the street, I jump. Should none of mine be out on the street at all. You always think that somebody else's child is there and it's going to get killed. And there's a lot of traffic there with them. That's the only place they have to play. All the youngsters around here just play in the street. There's nowhere else to play.
Geraldine, Elizabeth, Agnes.
Mrs. Ditty and 8 of her children all sleep in the same room. Every evening, the eldest daughter puts the younger girls to bed while Mrs. Ditty goes to visit her husband in hospital with TB.
You ready, Agnes? Come on, Beth. Come on.
I just got toes on it. It's helping. I haven't ran on. Oh, put over it, team.
Good night, Beth. Good night, Agnes. Good night, Jerry. Good night, Lynn.
Some of the old houses are at last being pulled down, 30,000 within the next 16 years. Many of the people who used to live in houses already demolished now live up the road on newer housing estates. But here, things are no better. Newer houses mean higher rents, and the Belfast Corporation have just increased the rents again. These women are picketing the rent man to protest against this increase, which makes their rent 5 times greater than rents in the old areas. Catholics and Protestants live on estates like this.
Well, I think the first point to be made is a large family who are poor because they haven't got sufficient money, not because they're inadequate or are bad managers or they're foolish with their money, just haven't sufficient income. So you move them out of an area where they're paying, say, 10 shillings a week rent to an area like this. Certainly they've got a better house, they've got more room, but they have to pay more rent. So the financial difficulties are greater. They've got new furniture to buy, they've got more rooms to furnish, and they've got curtains to buy, this kind of thing. So obviously the difficulties are greater. And unless you increase their income, you're not doing them a good turn. You're moving them into another area, which is going to be another slum area.
Demonstrations in which Catholics and Protestants unite are all too rare in Northern Ireland today. but this is one. Here, Catholic and Protestant tenants faced with eviction take to the streets in protest against rents they cannot pay. Since the riots last August, the government of Northern Ireland have promised better housing, more jobs, less poverty. But for people living on the poverty line, these promises come too late.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. Oh, he's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. I hope for all of us.
The women know that the rent collector is not the real villain, but good-natured protest could become violent. If the corporation tries to evict these tenants for refusing to pay the rent increase, it might well be confronted by Catholics and Protestants on the same side of a barricade. Faced with this, the corporation may well climb down. Today, in Northern Ireland, the alternative is violence.